Hello, everyone. Welcome to Consumer Action's Tax Time Resources for Smart Consumers webinar. My name is Nelson Santiago, and I am a Community Outreach Manager with Consumer Action. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. As everyone knows, tax season is in full swing, and one might say that we're in the home stretch now with the April 15 tax deadline right around the corner. But you might not know this, according to the IRS statistics, some 70 million people have already filed their tax returns as of mid-March. But between mid-March and mid-April, we can expect another 60 million people to file. And then after April 15, after the middle of April, another 20 to 25 million may file by the end of the year. So literally, there are millions and millions of people out there with whom we can share the information that we learned today. And for that reason, we are really thankful and really glad that we were able to form a consumer education partnership with Chime. Chime is the sponsor of today's webinar, and we are able to present this webinar with funding from Chime. So thanks very much for that. And shout out to the team at Chime who worked with us to make this possible today. Moving right along here, if some of you may be new to Consumer Action, I do want to let you know a little bit about us and where you can learn more. This is a screenshot from our website, www.consumer-action.org is where you'll find us. And Consumer Action, in case you're not aware, is a national consumer education and advocacy organization founded way back in 1971. We create a broad range of multilingual educational materials on a variety of topics that impact the consumer's pocketbook. And we also advocate for strong consumer rights and policies that promote fairness and financial prosperity for consumers nationwide, especially low-income and underrepresented consumers. Among the many materials that you'll find on our website is one related to today's topic, and you can get to it by clicking right there, right under the image that says Tax Time, or also on the right side where you see Quick Menu, select the publication category, you go to Taxes, and that will take you to our fact sheet that is entitled the Get Credit for Your Hard Work. It's the 2024 version. It's our fact sheet on the Earned Income Tax Credit, a really valuable credit that can help reduce the tax that a low-income consumer may owe, as well as actually increase the amount of their refund. And we continue to update this fact sheet every year because we still need to get the word out, and hopefully you'll help us get the word out about it too. According to IRS estimates, only one in 5 eligible taxpayers are still missing out on claiming this credit. So we'll get you this link. In about a week, you'll get the slides. We'll send you a link to these materials and other handouts, as well as a link to the recording. Moving right along, we do want to emphasize today again that Consumer Action is a nonprofit consumer education and advocacy group, and as such, we do not endorse, promote, or recommend any commercial products or services from any company. Any references or links to particular commercial products today or services during the presentation is solely for informational and educational purposes, and it should not be considered a recommendation, a promotion, or an endorsement by Consumer Action. The goal today is to bring you lots of information and a lot of resources that your clients can use to make smarter choices during tax time. So we hope you'll agree that we will be offering you that today. Now, so who's going to share with us? Who will be sharing with us a wealth of information and resources? You got to get a look at this panel of experts that we've been able to bring together. I won't be able to tell you too much about from their bios because we have a lot to cover, but I'll give you little bits and pieces as we move through the program. But just take a look at who's here. We have audience. We have not one, but 2 distinguished speakers from the IRS today. We're going to learn all about Direct File from Bridget Roberts, who serves as the IRS Direct File Chief. And we will also learn about the modernization effort going on at the IRS and the new IRS tools available to taxpayers from Rebecca Thompson, an IRS Communications and Liaison Senior Advisor. After the IRS speaks, we will be hearing from Igor Volsky. Igor is a strategic advisor to the Nonprofit Economic Security Project. He will talk about community-based efforts to get the word out about Direct File and about how we can help increase awareness of Direct File. Then we will hear from Amy Miller. Amy Miller is the America Saves Program Manager at Consumer Federation of America, and she'll discuss how consumers can use tax time as an opportunity to build their savings. After Amy, we will hear from two speakers from Chime, Kira Traore, the Director of Social Impact at Chime, and William Stern, Chime's Product Manager. They will share with us information about Chime's community programs, their commitment to financial education, as well as tax season tools that they make available to their customers. Many of the clients you serve may be using fintech apps for banking and other financial services these days. So Chime's presentation will give us a real life example of the type of products that fintech apps may be offering during tax time. I'll tell you a little bit more about everyone as we move along. Last but not least, we will also hear from Gema de las Heras, a bilingual consumer education specialist at the Federal Trade Commission Division of Consumer and Business Education. She will talk to us about tax identity theft and related scams. So what do you guys think? It's an amazing panel, right? And I'm really glad that we have not one but two federal agencies here today to help inform us so that we can take the valuable information they give us to the communities we serve. Just a quick reminder for our webinars, we do answer your questions at the end after everyone's made their presentations. My colleague, Monica Steinish, will gather the questions that you submit and will present them to our speakers after the presentations. Another reminder, you will get the slide deck and a recording link in about a week. When you get the link, or even before you get the link, you'll be able to go watch it on our YouTube page, and hopefully you will subscribe. We may put in the subscription link even during this webinar. So moving then right along into our presentation, to have our presenters start the presentations. We will be hearing in the first segment from Bridget Roberts. I'll tell you a little bit more about her. She is the IRS Direct File Chief. She leads the IRS work to deliver Direct File. And prior to this work, Bridget served as Acting Transformation and Strategy Officer within the IRS as a project director for the cross-functional transformation team to deliver the new IRS Strategic Operating Plan. And previously, she served as the Deputy National Taxpayer Advocate with the Taxpayer Advocate Service. She spent a total of 20 years in the Taxpayer Advocate Service and the IRS, focusing on issues related to taxpayer service, tax administration, and assisting taxpayers in resolving their issues with the IRS. So we're really glad you're here, Bridget. And then joining you is Rebecca Thompson, IRS Communications and Liaison Senior Advisor, who for more than a decade has worked to ensure that low to moderate income households can access and take advantage of tax credits for which they are eligible, leveraging the benefits derived from the tax code to improve their household financial security. Most recently, she served as a senior advisor in the U.S. Department of the Treasury IRA Program Office, where she connected community organizations with Treasury's priorities to raise awareness and ensure equitable access for eligible populations to the benefits and credits in the tax code. Just one more little thing that I saw in your bio, Rebecca. Prior to joining the Treasury Department, she was a nonprofit professional, like many of us here, holding various roles, including leading the National Taxpayer Opportunity Network, where she served as the National Liaison for VITA programs. I'm glad you are both here. I will advance to your first slide and let me know when you need me to move the slides.
Okay, great. We can jump to the, we can go ahead and jump to the next slide. So hi everyone, really excited to be here today to talk to you about Direct File. So for those of you who might not be aware, last year we launched a pilot for Direct File, so testing the ability for taxpayers to file their returns electronically for free directly with the IRS. And so the pilot was a success, and based on the outcome of that pilot, the IRS has moved forward to make direct file a new option that taxpayers have in choosing how to electronically file their returns. So we can jump to the next slide. So direct file is open to taxpayers whose tax situations meet the tax scope of the product. As a relatively new product, it does not yet cover all tax situations. It also doesn't cover all states quite yet. So as we'll talk about in a little bit, direct file is open to taxpayers who live in one of the 25 states that has partnered with direct file for this year. It allows taxpayers to file a tax year 2024 individual federal tax return, and then facilitates them in filing their state return by connecting them directly with the State Department of Revenue. Direct file was open at the start of filing season and will remain available through the October filing deadline. It is available in both English and Spanish, something that we're pretty excited about, to be able to make it available in both languages. And throughout, actually, taxpayers have the ability to toggle back and forth between English and Spanish on every single page. It is a mobile-friendly interview-based tool. Works just as well on a mobile phone as it does on a laptop or a desktop computer. It's also very accessible to taxpayers who need to use screen readers or see things in large print or have any other accessibility needs. We can jump to the next slide. So I mentioned earlier that direct file does not yet cover sort of every single individual tax situation, so we do have a bit of a limited tax scope. So what we currently support are taxpayers who have W-2 or Social Security income, taxpayers who have unemployment compensation, retirement income that they list on a 1099-R. We support interest income, the Alaska Permanent Dividend Fund, and the standard deduction. So if taxpayers are looking to itemize, direct file definitely won't be the best choice for them. We do support the child tax credit, EITC, child and dependent care credit, premium tax credit, health savings account, savers credit, credit for the elderly and disabled, as well as deductions for educator expenses and student loan interest. So this is sort of the entire scope of what direct file covers. So for example, individuals, like I mentioned, who are looking to itemize, who might have Schedule C, gig economy type income, who might have investment income, that's all unfortunately out of scope for direct file for this year. The hope is that in the future, as we continue to build out direct file, we will be able to build out the scope as well and bring more of those things into scope for direct file. We can move to the next slide. So as I mentioned, direct file is available to those taxpayers who live in one of our partner states. Here you can see direct file is currently available in 25 states. So the states in blue are those states who were part of our pilot last year. We've been fortunate enough to add additional states this year, bringing that total up to 25 states. So if a taxpayer lived in one of these states during 2024, they are eligible to use direct file to file their tax year 24 return. If a taxpayer lives in a state where they also have a state filing requirement, at the end of completing their return with direct file, they will be directed to a state tool that they can use to complete the filing of their state return. And the taxpayer in almost all situations is able to actually take that information from their federal return in direct file, import that directly into the state tool, answer a couple of additional questions, and complete the filing of their state return relatively quickly without having to re-enter all of that information. So they can just import that information from direct file into their state tool. Go to the next slide. Direct file does also offer customized customer support. So taxpayers who are using direct file, if they have any questions, are able to get customer support in both English and Spanish via a live chat with one of our specially trained customer support representatives. There's no telephone number to call or wait on hold. There is a chat button that is available at the top of every page within direct file. So at any point when you have a question, you can just click that button and be automatically connected with one of our trained customer support reps. They are available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time. We do have weekend hours that will resume this weekend and continue through the end of filing season, and we will be offering some extended hours as we get close to the end of filing season. I will also note when you first use Direct File, we ask taxpayers to go through what we call a screener and answer a couple of eligibility questions just to make sure that that Direct File meets the needs of their tax situation. If at any point during that screener the taxpayer has questions, they also have the ability to contact customer support. We have both a chatbot available to answer very basic eligibility questions in the screener, as well as, again, that live chat option, so taxpayers can chat with a customer support representative. We can go to the next slide. Something that is new and very exciting this year is that we have added data import to the functionalities of Direct File. So we have made it even easier to file your taxes by allowing you to import some of your information directly into your return, saving you time, preventing taxpayers from miskeying information and creating an issue down the road. So taxpayers are able to import their basic personal information, name, address, and email address, information like that, so security number. Your W-2 information when it's available for the primary filer, we can import that directly into your return. Your IP PIN, if you have an IP PIN with the IRS, that is information that can be directly imported, as well as last year's AGI for when you go to sign your return, they're verifying that it is in fact you. So all this information can be imported directly into Direct File, and again, saving taxpayers time and reducing errors. So we are very excited about this development this year. Can jump to the next one. We have been, since we launched the pilot, undergoing consistent sort of testing with users and gathering feedback from individuals who've used Direct File. This is just one piece of feedback that we've received. It was amazing, easiest taxes I've ever prepared. I think all of us here are looking for anything that we can do to help make it easier for individuals to comply with their tax filing obligations and to file their taxes and make it one less thing that they have to stress about, so they can just file and get the credits and benefits that they are entitled to. Jump to the next slide. Okay, so with that, I think here we have the link to Direct File itself. We also have a YouTube page that has a number of videos that are incredibly helpful in just walking through the process of checking your eligibility to use Direct File, as well as just an overall demo of how Direct File works. That's something that can be super helpful in outreach as well. So we do have those materials available online. I think next I am turning it over to Rebecca.
RP, I'm not hearing Rebecca. Rebecca, we seem to have lost your audio. Monica, do you hear Rebecca?
No, I don't. And she just put in the chat, come back to me. So maybe she's going to take a minute to.
Rebecca, don't forget there is a dial-in number too in the reminder, so you can use a phone and we can come back to you. If you need to, you can call in. So I'll advance to our next speaker, which ties in very well with what we just heard from Bridget. We're gonna next hear from Igor Volsky. He is a strategic advisor with Economic Security Project. He's a seasoned communications expert and advocacy leader with a proven track record in shaping public discourse on critical issues. As the executive director of Groundwork Action, Volsky built a campaign that helped produce one of the most successful tax filing seasons in recent history, driving a unique communications and government affairs strategy that built political and popular support from the IRS. Igor, if you're there, please go ahead and I'll advance your slides as you need.
Yeah, hi everybody. Nelson, thank you so much, although I'm not sure that introduction really prepares people for the gifts they're about to see in this presentation. Bridget did such a terrific job of really giving you the groundwork of what Direct File is. So Nelson, we could actually move fairly quickly through the first couple of slides, and I really want to emphasize how we can work together to really spread the word about Direct File and really ensure that folks know that it's a choice for them this tax filing season. So here on the first slide, you see just the basic information about what is Direct File that we already heard. We can go next. Who is eligible? Let's go next as well. We're talking about 32 million households. Of course, why use Direct File? Here I just have a bit of a contrast between some of the other products available out there and the benefits of Direct File, including the fact that it saves you time and money and reduces stress, which in these times, who doesn't want to have reduced stress? Nelson, let's go to the next slide. And the real impact of Direct File is, of course, not just the monetary piece, which of course we all care about, but that it also really ensures that folks can really pick up the benefits through the tax code that they are eligible for. And so I have some numbers here about how families can easily use Direct File to make sure they get all of the tax credits that they're entitled to. Nelson, let's go to the next slide as well. And here's just another contrast between Direct File and some of the private products that are out there. As you all know, Direct File is really a choice that taxpayers have amongst many different products. The benefits of Direct File is that there are no surprise fees, there are no upselling of products, it's always free, easy to use, accurate, and secure. And you may be familiar with reporting that goes back now a couple of years from ProPublica that really dug into how some of the private tax companies have really invested in, on one hand, suggesting that they're offering free products to taxpayers, but then on the other, really pulling them in with that offer, but keeping them in systems where ultimately they still have to pay for filing. That's simply not the case with Direct File. It's always free to use. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, now here's the real meat of my conversation with you, which is the outreach part. You know, we really want to make sure that households in the 25 participating states this year know that they have a choice to file with Direct File if they so choose. And of course, filing with Direct File will disproportionately help and benefit lower income families as well. Let's go to the next slide to talk about some techniques about outreach. Now, all of you, we really view as partners in helping us get the word out, and you can do that in all kinds of different ways. There are, if you have a list, can certainly engage in texting campaigns. We found that to be incredibly effective in letting folks know that they could qualify for Direct File. Obviously, direct emails to your lists, to your constituents, telling them about this option, social media posts, webinar banners, posters, etc. We've also, and I've been doing a lot of this work, working across all 25 states where Direct File is eligible with state leaders. These are governors, these are majority and minority speakers in state assemblies, state senates, and working with them to hold press events, press conferences about Direct File so they really get the word out. Okay, sorry, I think I heard some echo there. And also, of course, ensure that they can talk about Direct File on their social media accounts, either through graphics, but also, of course, through videos. I think I see a chat here that I'm just seeing. I'm going to throw in the chat after I'm done with the presentation a toolkit that the Economic Security Project designed that has all of these separate pieces. So there's nothing for you to create. We've created a lot of these pieces for you. When you click over to the toolkit, you'll see all of the kind of pre-written pieces about quick messages you can send if you want to do a text campaign, if you want to do a direct email to your members. There are flyers, there are banners, there's all of that good stuff, lots of graphics both about, you know, what Direct File is, which states qualify for Direct File, and also a whole host of graphics about how much money families across the 25 states can save. So I'll drop it into the chat for you all. I'll also, by the way, maybe let's go to the next slide as I tease my chat drops here. Talk a bit about best practices, which we found through just our experience in doing this outreach, that keeping it short, keeping that pitch short, and really sending people to the website where they can go through a series of prompts to see if they qualify is the best way to do that. I think this is my last slide. I'll just add that along with the toolkit they'll drop in the chat, I would also love to connect with many of you, especially on if there are opportunities for us to work together to really energize state and local leaders to get involved, to hold a press conference, to do something on social, to send an email to their lists urging people or really educating people about Direct File. I'd love to hear from you. And so I've taken the liberty of just aggressively sending my Calendly link to people. I'll send one here for 15 minutes if you want to connect about how we can work together to really get the word out about Direct File. You can click on that link, schedule 15 minutes, and then you and I will really chat through what are things you can do, or if you know there are voices in your state that you'd like to help activate to really educate folks about the program, that would be great as well. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Igor. Great information. I want to see, do we know if Rebecca is on? We might go back to you now, otherwise we'll come back to you.
She does say she's on.
Hey, Nelson, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Can you hear me
I
now?
hear you well. Yes. So let me back up. So that was all about Direct File. Maybe they should have been together anyway.
Let's see,
So now we're gonna
see how long we've got signal.
Okay, so let's here we are. I'll go to your first slide.
Okay, thanks. And I'll stay off camera.
Yeah, that could help, yes. Oh no, now we don't hear you again, Rebecca. Monica, do you hear Rebecca?
Yeah. No, I think she dropped off again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely try the phone number in the, we can forget about the camera, Rebecca, if you want to try the phone number in the reminder, and we'll come back again. So let's move forward. We have plenty of people to talk today, so there's no issues with that. We're now going to hear from Amy Miller. Amy is America's States Program Manager at Consumer Federation of America. Amy is an accredited, I just said that. In her role, she helps individuals build financial confidence and achieve savings goals. With nearly 2 decades of experience in banking, investments, and financial services, Amy combines her expertise as a financial educator, writer, and coach to empower others. Also, if I didn't mention it, Amy is an accredited financial counselor. Thank you, Amy, for being here. Let me advance to your first slide.
Thank you, Nelson, so much. And good afternoon, everyone. As he said, my name is Amy Miller, and I am the program manager for America Saves. And I'm thrilled to be here to talk with Consumer Action to talk about how organizations like yours can help individuals save and build financial confidence at tax time. Tax season is one of the best opportunities to encourage savings. And today we'll, I'll go over some practical ways you can integrate savings messages into your existing messaging and leverage some free resources, that'll help you build an impactful campaign to support financial well-being in the communities that you serve. Nelson, if you will advance the slide for me, there you go. But before we dive into all of that, I wanted to just take a minute to introduce you to America Saves. We are a national initiative of the Consumer Federation of America, and our goal is pretty simple. We help individuals, especially those with low to moderate incomes, develop strong savings habits, build financial confidence. Under our umbrella, we also have the Veteran Saves program, which extends this mission to the military and veteran community and focuses on, unique financial challenges like deployments and TDYs and things like that are pertinent to their life and the challenges that they face. And then we have the America Saves at Work program, which helps employers promote financial wellness in the workplace. Collectively, we believe that savings is for everybody, and we help people take small, practical steps to improve their financial well-being. Our work is built around a few core pillars, which is one is no shaming, meeting people where they are, and celebrating small wins. One of our biggest initiatives is America Saves Week, which is our national campaign and call to action that takes place every April. So we are 2 weeks out from today from this year's event. During the week, organizations, financial institutions, and employers all come together to promote savings habits through free resources, events, and community engagement. To be honest, the impact is incredible. Each year, we reach millions of individuals with savings education. This past year, we had 4,600 organizations participate for 2024. And as of this morning, we're at about 4,800 organizations participating. And we hope to keep that growing over the next 2 weeks. But that just kind of drives home the point that, partners like you play a crucial role in this movement. And we'd love to have you guys participating with us. And Nelson, will you advance the slide for me? So like I said, tax time is critical savings opportunity. Tax refunds can be a very powerful financial tool, especially for those low to moderate income individuals. For many, tax refunds are the single largest lump sum of money they'll receive all year. So encouraging people to save a portion of that refund can really help them jumpstart an emergency fund, pay down their debt, or support some other major financial goal that they may have. We know, and many studies show, that those who commit to saving their refund before they file their taxes are much more likely to follow through. And so this is why it's important that organizations, like yours, play a role in influencing these financial behaviors by promoting tax time saving strategies to the individuals and the communities that you serve. So how can you do that? Will you advance the slide again for me, Nelson, please? All right, so how can you do that? Like I stated earlier, a tax refund is one of the largest lump sums of money that many will receive. And your organization has the opportunity to make an impact during tax season by encouraging people to think ahead and commit to saving a portion of that refund before they file, which can help them, really take an important step towards financial stability. So I've listed a few simple ways here on the slide, but one of them, is pretty powerful, is sharing tax time savings resources, whether it's through newsletters, social media, directly at VITA sites, just so that individuals have the information and encouragement that they need to make savings a priority. Another strategy is hosting financial workshops or webinars, working with local banks and credit unions to make savings accounts more accessible for tax filers is really important. Many individuals don't save simply because they don't have an account in place. So offering guidance and opening an account can really remove a major barrier to savings for many. And when I ask a lot of the VITA sites and organizations that participate with us, you know, like when do they see the most success, they will often say that, or most always say, that they see the most success when, you know, this type of information is introduced from the very beginning at intake. When you start that conversation very early on, we see much more success with people actually following through and saving some of that tax refund for an emergency fund or other things. And then last on this slide, of course, I had to include America Saves. We provide free tools like our tax time toolkit, our America Saves pledge, where people can take a pledge, set a goal, and then we follow up with them with what I call tips, tools, and resources that help them stay on track and motivated. We have the spending and savings plan tool. And then, of course, we have America Saves Week, which I touched on a minute ago, and we'll talk about it again in a second. But all of these are designed to really help people set and follow through on their savings goals, and designed to make it easier for you to support your community in building financial stability. Nelson, will you advance for me one more time, please? Or maybe two more, I'm not sure. So how can you partner with us and take advantage of our resources? And again, you know, they're all free, and all you have to do is sign up and take part. Whether it's through our national campaign or our tax time initiative, everything is very easy for you to take part. I'm going to skip the top part. We'll talk about America Saves Week in a minute, but you'll see I touched on our tax time savings toolkit. It is a completely ready to use toolkit that you can download. It has sample messaging, flyers, and then strategies to help you promote savings at tax time. Get involved in your community. I want to highlight just one real quickly, one campaign of partnerships that we have that is very successful, and that is LA Saves. It's an initiative of the FDIC, but out there they have built a partnership and a collaboration of about 100 organizations that during America Saves Week, they host 10 to 15 events during the week, and then some throughout the entire year. About 40 of those 100 organizations are financial institutions, and they really partner and come together. Last year during America Saves Week, they opened almost 300 savings accounts in the 1 week. So just a little success story to show you how collaboration can really make an impact in your community. And then, you know, it's not too late. I know we said that America Saves Week is coming up in 2 weeks. It will take place from April 7th to 11th. It's not too late to sign up. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up as a participating organization, which will give you access to our America Saves Week toolkit, which again is ready to use messaging, one for every day of the week. Each day has a theme, and we will have blogs and resources. We're going live on Wednesday and Thursday with different webinars. One's going to be on credit and debit. We'll launch new podcasts during the week. And it really is just a great opportunity to engage your community and employees, or maybe the clients that you serve, with savings-focused messaging and activities. Again, you know, this all comes to life because of our participating organizations. And like I said, we have about 4,800 participating this coming year. We'd like to see more, but it's a great opportunity to make an impact, like I said. And with that, Nelson, I have one more slide, if you will. Yes, thank you. With that, I'll turn it back over to you, Nelson, but I want to say thank you to all of you for being here today and for the important work that you do to support financial security in your communities. If you'd like to learn more about America Saves or Veteran Saves, or use our toolkit, sign up for the week or anything like that, I'm happy to connect you and help you. Reach out to me at saves@americasaves.org, or check out our website, americasaves.org or americasavesweek.org, where it's very easy. Like I said, you just sign up and then you have access to all of our resources and tools. So again, thank you very much for being here, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amy. A great resource for tax season for sure. Thanks so much. And I do think we have Rebecca back on. Rebecca, can we hear your audio? If so, we'll come back to you. And I saw her for a moment. Are you there, Rebecca? Okay, we'll keep trying, and then
Hi.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
You are? I hear you well. Let's
All right.
let's see, and I think you are on the phone, so now we should not lose you anymore. Let me
Yes, you shouldn't lose me. Apologies.
That's okay. Okay, so here we are. We're at your first slide.
Awesome. Great. So I'd like to talk to you. Thank you so much, everyone, for your patience, and you especially, Nelson, for your patience in getting me through the tech, which seemed to work fine over the last 2 times that we tried it. But for whatever reason, that's just how technology works sometimes. But hopefully the technology that I'm about to talk to you about won't actually work that way, that when you actually go to access some of the tools that I'm going to reference today, you will actually be able and be successful in your attempts and on the first attempt. So I'd like to talk to you today about a few of the tools that the IRS has available to make it easier for taxpayers to actually access their systems and their information. So I'll talk a little bit about Where's My Refund, individual online accounts, the IP PIN, there's a duplicate taxpayer identification process, the document upload tool, and chatbots, and then finally there's an app for that. So we'll talk about IRS To Go. On the next slide, I do want to point out that most of the resources that I'm going to reference here are actually available directly from the IRS homepage. So I've highlighted and circled a few of the resources that are here. And so if you look, just go to irs.gov, you'll see directly there on the landing page, you can get your refund status, you can explore free filing options. That's a place where you can access direct file. You can sign into your tax account and also get your tax record directly from that IRS homepage. On the next slide, I'll talk about Where's My Refund. This time of year, it's really important for people to understand and know the status of their refund. People want to track their refund after they file their taxes, their tax return. So again, that's accessible directly from the IRS homepage. Very important, the information that you will need. You must have your Social Security number or your individual taxpayer ID number, which is also known as an ITIN. Have to know your filing status. What was your filing status when you filed this most recent tax return? And then the exact amount of the refund on your return. Once you have those bits of information, check your refund, enter that information on the next few screens, and you will get information about where your refund is and where your return is in the process. Is it processing? Has it been received? Processing, and when the refund is expected to be sent, or whether the refund has already been sent. So that is a great way for folks to check their refund. Don't have to call the IRS. You can do it yourself right there from the IRS homepage. All right, on the next slide, let's talk about individual online accounts. I'd love to think about this as your bank account, but it's actually your tax account. So it's very similar to accessing your online banking and financial information. It is just your tax information. There's a ton of things that you can do with your IRS online account, including accessing your tax records. So you can go back and look at your prior year returns. You can also check your refund from within your tax account, your individual online account. You can view digital copies of notices from the IRS, get information about that economic impact payment, the stimulus checks, as well as the advanced CTC, find out how much you got for each one of those years. If you purchase an electric vehicle in this last year or in the future years, you will find out information about the credits that you may have transferred to a dealer or that are still available for you to claim on your tax return. That information also needs to be included on your current year tax return. If by chance you are under audit, you can understand what your audit status is, and then new information, and this is, I would say, building on or working in concert with the developments that have come through Direct File, you can now also view your current year W-2 and other information returns as well. In your individual online account, you can also make and view payments, see how much you've paid, what's due. You can also create a payment plan from right there within your own online account. And then you can also, if you work with a tax professional, you can understand what those tax professionals are authorized to do. And then, of course, manage your preferences and see who can access your information and understand what decisions you've made and make decisions about how you actually receive information from the IRS as well. Moving on to identity protection. There is a way for you to actually get an identity protection personal identification number directly from the IRS. It is on their website. You can do a search, really easy. Just go to that home page and put in that search bar IP PIN, and you will get this page. And then towards the middle of the page, there's a button that you can click that will to get an IP PIN, and you can go through the processes and sign up for an IP PIN there. Important to note that an IP PIN is valid for only 1 calendar year. So you will get a new IP PIN every year it is generated for you. Also accessible through your individual online account. So if you have an IP PIN, your individual online account is a great place to go and retrieve that information if you may have not received the letter or have misplaced that letter. That information is always stored right there in your online account. And then finally, for any electronic return that you filed during that calendar year, your IP PIN, if you have one, it must be included on that federal tax return. Otherwise, it will reject. Next slide. Let's talk about claiming duplicate dependents with an IP PIN. This is a new process that the IRS has initiated this year. And just to give a little background, let's say for an electronically filed return that claims a dependent who also appears on a previously filed return, that return will reject. So if there are 2 people who, may be trying to claim a dependent, whoever claims that dependent first, that return will be accepted. And then the second person, if it's a parent or a guardian or whoever, who has the ability and who is eligible to claim that dependent, that second return will reject unless a valid IP PIN is provided. Now, we just showed you how to get an IP PIN. So a taxpayer can actually use the information that was shared on the previous slide to obtain an IP PIN and then go back and refile that return with that IP PIN. And if there are no other issues with that return, it will be accepted. It is important to note that the taxpayer who is listed first on the return claiming the dependent is the one who can and should provide their current year IP PIN when they file. Again, if there are no other issues on that return, then that return will then be accepted. There is still an option for taxpayers to file a paper return with duplicate claims for dependents. That's just a much longer process as well. And then it's important to note that this is relevant only for the current year. So for prior years, that's tax years 2023 and 2022, those returns with claims, duplicate claims for dependents must still be paper filed by mail if those dependents have been claimed on another return. But this is a process that will enable those returns, which have in previous years been rejected, to go ahead and be accepted. Okay, let's talk about IRS document upload tool. Sometimes people get letters from the IRS and they need to respond. In previous years, it's taken months. People would have 30 days to respond to a letter from the IRS. You would have to fill out the form, provide the paperwork, and mail it back into the IRS. Well, now there is a document upload tool, which greatly eases and facilitates the process for getting information back to the IRS. Once you've received a letter, that letter will have an access code on it, and you can also provide the notice letter. And you can use the IRS document upload tool to share information back with the IRS just by uploading a scan, a photo, or digital copies of your documents And then you will also get confirmation that that information has been received. This is just another way that the IRS is working to make the process a little bit smoother, a little bit easier for taxpayers to get that information back over to them. All right, Bridget mentioned earlier about chatbots that are available through Direct File, and I'm happy to report that IRS now has chatbots available in many screens. They are interactive, unauthenticated chatbots to answer your questions from a number and a variety of different screens. I would encourage you, if you're online and you have questions, what you can do is just look in that bottom right corner and you'll see that little chat icon there. If you have additional questions, you can type your questions in there, and the chat bot will work and give you answers. So here's just a couple of examples. If you're on the make a payment screen, there's a chat bot that's there for you that you can get your general questions answered. On the next slide, there's also a chat bot on the screen for refunds that you can get your general questions answered. Again, these are unauthenticated, which means that they don't provide information about you personally. It will be so they can't access your tax record and give you specific information with regard to your tax account, but you can get general questions answered there. And finally, there's an app for that. Did you know that the IRS has an app? We do. It's IRS To Go. It is the official mobile app of the IRS, and it is available for your mobile device on all of the regular platforms and through any app store that you might go to. And I think it's a wonderful tool. I have this app on my phone. You can check your refund status right there from the app. You can actually make a payment from the app. You can get free tax help. So you can learn about Direct File as well as other free filing options, including finding the VITA or TCE site that's nearest to you. And then, of course, we always encourage you to stay connected and follow us on X and LinkedIn and Instagram. You can always access the helpful videos on YouTube to learn more about and get your tax questions answered. Thank you again for the opportunity and for your patience as I navigated tech challenges today in accessing the webinar. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Nelson.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Great information. And again, everyone, we will be sending the slide deck to everyone in about a week, as well as a link to the recording. And now I'm advancing to our next set of speakers. This is a segment that will be presented by Chime. We will be hearing from Traore, who is the Director of Social Impact at Chime, where she works to go beyond Chime's products to break down barriers to financial progress. She has more than 17 years of experience in the public and private sector, leading impact programs at scale. Kira is also a proud returned Peace Corps volunteer, where she served in Mali building water infrastructure programs. Welcome, Kira. And we also will hear from William Stern today. William is a product manager at Chime, leading efforts on free tax filing. Previously, he was a product manager at Facebook and developed products focused on trust and safety. William began his career as a public school teacher in New York City. Thank you both for being here, and I'll go ahead and advance to the first slide.
Thanks, Nelson. You can actually go to the next slide. Yeah. Hey everyone, so I am gonna share a little bit about Chime for some context. I know banking apps are relatively new, so we'll give you some information about who Chime is and who we serve, and a little bit about our community work, and then I'll kick it over to Willie for the real good stuff around our tax filing. So we're Chime. We are a banking app. We're focused on serving the more than 60% of Americans that live paycheck to paycheck. If you've never used a banking app, we work like a traditional bank. You can open a free checking account, free savings. We have debit cards powered by Visa. We have a credit builder credit card. And I'll get into more of our product suite and our offerings, but we work pretty similarly to a traditional bank. So on the next slide, you can see we are really focused on unlocking financial progress for everyday people. We want to expand access to banking services, which we think are really fundamental to taking control of your own financial journey and make progress, whatever that means to you. So on the next slide, Chime was really created off of this idea that the banking industry is built on fees, really. It's punitive. It's banks make money when their customers don't have money, whether that be overdraft fees, that's on interest rates, on cards, things like that. And Chime does the opposite. We're really built on the idea that when our customers, we call them members, when our members are doing better, Chime will also do better. And in a few slides, we'll get into kind of how that works and how we're able to make that happen. But on the next slide, again, kind of diving into why Chime exists. Most of you probably know this. A lot of the people that you serve probably run into this, but we know there's a very large percentage of folks in this country that live paycheck to paycheck. Even more so, 80% of Americans earn less than $100,000 a year, and with inflation and lots of stuff happening, that's very difficult to live on. And about 50% of Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings accounts. And we know how much emergency savings is really important. So Chime is built to combat some of these stats and work with folks to meet people where they are and help them really build towards what financial progress means to them. So we can skip the next slide. It's just a company overview. So again, we know traditional banking is not working for everyday people. So in the wake of the global financial crisis, about 15 years ago now, our co-founders realized that there was a fundamental problem with the banking services and how banking is built. And so we set out to really change that and live up to the promises of things like free checking. Our checking is completely free. There are no fees. You don't need to have a certain amount of direct deposit. You don't need to have a certain balance in your account. It is free. We have a savings account with interest rates. Again, you don't need to have any amount, a specific amount in there to take advantage of interest. And all of our products are built with that idea in mind. So you can, on the next slide, thank you, Nelson. Again, this is how we work. So a big way that we're able to win with our members is through interchange fees. So the fees that merchants pay when they accept credit cards, we get a percentage of those, and that's a big revenue stream for us. So we don't need to make money when customers overdraft their accounts. We actually have free overdraft because we're making money as they're doing better, they're spending more, we get a larger percentage of that interchange. And we also, on the flip side, want to make sure that we're being really responsible. Fintech banking apps are relatively new. We know that where you keep your money is really important. And so we have a pretty unique model of working. We have banking partners, which is where money is held. So all of our accounts are FDIC insured. And we make sure that we have safeguards of traditional banks mixed with the access and availability of a banking app. So I'm sure you all know about banking deserts. We have a lot of customers that live in banking deserts, and they don't have brick and mortar stores that they can just walk into, and they're able to access these really amazing financial services from their phones. I think it's something like 95% of people have a smartphone in this country. So it's really opening up these services that are not available to a lot of folks. So on the next slide, you can see more about our trust and safety, because that's super important for us. I think the financial services industry historically has really low trust, and then you add in not having a physical presence, and that really adds into a lack of trust. And we really, the trust of our members is everything to us. So like I said, all of the accounts that our customers open are fully FDIC insured. We have a ton of security and technology frameworks that we use to keep accounts secure, to keep fraud low. We have 24/7 agent support so that our members can, if they have any questions, if they have problems, no matter the time, they can reach us. Our Chime cards are backed by Visa's zero liability policy. And like I said, because of our banking partnership, which is a unique model, we do still are subject to the same regulation, like Regulation E, know your customer requirements, and other rules and regulations. And I will hit this point home because I think not all banking apps are built with a banking partnership model, so that it is important to recognize that not all apps are FDIC insured or follow the same regulations, but we definitely do. So on the next slide, you can see a little bit more about our suite of products. We lump them into different categories: spending, liquidity, building credit, savings. We have a free or low cost option for all of these. So we have some basic services like I talked about before, fee-free debit cards. We have fee-free ATM networks, fee-free deposits. So even though we are a banking app, we have partners like Walgreens where you can go in and deposit money for free, cash if you're trying to deposit cash, and then it goes into your Chime accounts. We have some liquidity products, which is really important for customers who are living paycheck to paycheck. Spot Me is our fee-free overdraft. We have a new product that we launched fairly recently called MyPay, which is access to wages that you've already earned. We're expanding out a beta that we, on Friday, I think we just announced the expansion of our instant loans. Those are low fee, immediate loans. I think they're up to $500 right now. We have some deals and perks for our customers. Get paid early. We were some of the first to be doing get paid 2 to 3 days before your direct deposit usually hits. And of course, our free tax filing product, which Willie will talk about in a minute. We have our Credit Builder credit card that helps folks build credit who don't have credit or who have low credit. That's a secured card. We do things with Experian Boost to get credit up. I won't kind of read through all of these. You can look on chime.com to see more, but we do have a very large breadth of products that are designed to help customers get access to money, help build savings, help build credit, and have a safe and trusted place to keep their money. So far, we are super proud of the progress that our members have made. 97% of our members say that Chime has helped them with at least one aspect of their financial progress. 75% say that they trust Chime more than major national banks. 81% say that Chime has helped them improve their financial situation. A lot of our customers are coming from banks that have high fees, so they're saving on that, or they were underbanked or unbanked. So we're really proud about being able to actually measurably help drive financial progress for our members. Something that we try and live by and not just something that we try and say. So the next couple slides just give you a sense of who our members are. You can skip to the next one. Thank you, Nelson. My guess is that a lot of our customers are folks that you all serve also. So yeah, we are here for our customers however we need them. The next slide gives a little bit more about some specifics about how we've helped. So 44% of our customers say that they come to Chime to build credit. That's a big draw for us because it's really hard to build credit if you have no credit or poor credit. There's just not a lot of places to turn. So our average customer who is trying to build credit builds 30 points through our Credit Builder card. 35% of join Chime to build their savings. 44% join Chime for more access to their money. So we try and build for why folks are coming, and that's sort of how we've ended up with the suite of products that we have. So you can see from real customers, I can say this as much as you want, but on the next slides, a couple slides, you'll just hear, we have a lot more of these coming out. We really feel like our customers should be telling their own stories, right? So this is Irv, and he's talking about Spot Me, which is our fee-free overdraft. And a lot of our customers really love our fee-free overdraft. It's able, they're able to either use it as a stopgap or just, you go and you charge something you're not quite sure when things are hitting on your bank account. You shouldn't get penalized for that. So that's important for us. And then Roseanne on the next slide is someone who was able to increase her credit score by 60 points by using our Credit Builder card. So the last couple before I kick it over to the real highlight of the day is our impact work. So this is the work that's near and dear to my heart. On the next slide, you can see kind of how we bucket our impact work. We really see our community impact work as an extension of our products and services. We're solving for some banking app accessibility issues that are really systemic and major. And so how can we help kind of surround that with other areas that are breaking down barriers to financial progress so that our members can really reach the goals that they want to. So financial education is a big piece of that. We believe deeply in financial education. I'll chat about that in a minute. We do have a foundation, the Chime Scholars Foundation. Those are scholarships for post-secondary education. They're needs-based, which is really great. They're not academic-based. And it's for students that are going to everything from certificate and trade schools to associate's degree in community colleges to four-year universities. And then we do have a pledge around our volunteerism, and our employees get time off to do that. We think that our talent is something that's really awesome to leverage for our partners. So our Chimers, our Chime employees get involved in a lot. And then the next slide just talks a little bit more about our financial education commitment and our community programs. We are a Pledge 1% company, so 1% of our future equity is going to be going into our Chime Scholars Foundation. We have a program called Chime Community Changemakers, which is really investing in local community movers and shakers who are breaking down barriers to financial progress. And then, of course, our products drive into our holistic mission for financial progress. So the last piece that I will talk about is our financial education, because we do have some resources to leave behind. Like I said, we feel like having the tools and resources to be able to take control of your own financial journey is super important. So that starts with financial education. In the next slide, you can see we're starting to integrate meaningful financial education into our own app. So for our members, in the account security, which you can see here, which Willie actually helped stand up. He was the product manager on that. You can go in and learn and improve your awareness about different scams and fraud and things like that that might be happening. We do have an Unlock Financial Progress page on our app, and in our support, we have a chat bot also. And in our chat support, you can actually ask it some financial education questions, and it'll send you resources and places that you can go to find the answers to your educational questions. Outside of our app, because we also feel like financial education is so important, it shouldn't just be for our members, it should also be for our members' communities. So on the next page are just some pictures. We like to get out in real life to communities to talk about financial education. I think financial education is not always accessible. It's not always realistic. And so how can we bring realistic, real world education to folks? We do tend to focus on younger people, like 14 to 24-year-olds, to build financial habits, healthy financial habits from the outset. But financial education is something that everyone can benefit from. So we do provide that for everyone. On the next slide, you can see our partners. So we do our core financial education through a partner called Zogo. They are an award-winning financial education app, and they have a website, which you'll see in a second. And they're bite-sized lessons that are really easy for folks to kind of go through and find topics that are important to them, whether that be getting your first car to 401k and retirement. They kind of run the gamut on all sorts of topics. So we do partner with Zogo. On the next slide, you can see we have we pay for rewards, so you can learn and earn on Zogo using the Chime access, using the access code Chime, so folks can get rewarded and then turn those rewards into actual gift cards, and that's through the Zogo app itself. And then we also, on the next slide, have an open website, and so this is something you can absolutely share, distribute. Anyone can kind of go to chime.zogo.com and start learning about whatever topics they want to hear about. Again, we just think this is something that's accessible. Relevant financial education is hard to find, and it's something that's super important. So we make this available to anyone in the US who's over the age of 13, I believe. So that's enough from me. I'm going to kick it over to Willie to talk about tax season.
Awesome. Thanks, Kira. I'm William Stern, or Willie. As Kira outlined, I'm the product manager for our free taxes product. And it's similar to some of the stuff that we've been hearing throughout the different presentations today. I'm going to talk about the problem that we're looking to solve at Chime, what we've built, some of our impact, and then how the organizations on this call can file for free with Chime today. Next slide, please, Nelson. Thank you. So at a high level, tax season's a frustrating time for our members. Our members are tired of bait and switch services that seem free, but ultimately charge, our members who are paycheck to paycheck user, a fee to access their refunds, money that they've already earned. So we found that the average IRS refund is $3,100, which is, quite a lot of money, especially for our members. And we found that almost 2/3 of our members who interacted with our free tax filing product either paid for filing the year before, $100 or $150, or they didn't file at all, meaning that they left money on the table. So next slide, please, Nelson. Thank you. So at Chime, we firmly believe that getting your money back from the government shouldn't cost you money. So as Kira outlined in our, Chime mission statement, we're really passionate about empowering Americans to unlock their financial progress to make tax season super easy and more rewarding. And at Chime, we believe that those easy, free experiences will make people want to stay and then come and bank with Chime and use the great, products that Kira outlined in her presentation too. Next slide, please. So these are the product details. We work with 2 e-filers who are authorized by the IRS, April and Column Tax. We're live in all 50 states for federal and state filing. We're 100% free. We cover most tax instances. We're really passionate about filing simplified, so we're able to pre-fill member information, and members can scan their prior tax documents, their W-2s, their 1099s, so that members can file quickly and with a high degree of confidence as they can scan their files directly. We have a max refund guaranteed and unlimited 24/7 support for Chime and for the April and Column Tax vendors. Next slide, please. And this is our product flow. So if you open the Chime app today, you'll see a few different entry points in the Chime app. We have a banner and we have a permanent entry point at the bottom of the screen. This is one of the examples of our flows where after a member taps Get Started, they'll see details on free tax filing, and then they'll jump right into our 4 sections: basic info, income, credits and deductions, and then review and file. And as we said, we're able to pre-fill that member information. Members can scan their documents to ensure 100% accuracy, and then at the end they can see their refund amount. And we're doing all sorts of spot me boosts and incentives for members to file with Chime too. And on the next slide, I laid out some impact. In the last 5 years, Chime has processed more than $27 billion in tax refunds. We're IRS authorized for secure tax filing. And because we are able to pre-fill member information and members can scan their docs, we found that members file 7 times faster than the national average. So we're getting members the money that they're owed and that they deserve, and we're getting it to them quicker. And yeah, the next slide is just how you can sign up. So if you have a Chime account, you can just look in your Chime app, or you can head to chime.com/taxes today and file for free today. We have our corny marketing slogan, which says it's not a refund, it's a free fund. So that's all from Chime. Thank you so much, Nelson.
Thank you, William. Thanks so much for that information. We will folks, do type in questions for Monica. Monica's gathering questions, and we'll get to those after our next speaker, who is Gema de las Heras. Gema, remind me next time, I'm going to make you first, okay, since you waited so patiently today to be our final speaker. Gema de las Heras is a bilingual consumer education specialist in the FTC's Division of Consumer and Business Education, where she works on outreach projects to inform and educate consumers about bad business practices and how to spot and avoid fraud. Something really interesting in Gema's bio is she previously worked as a television producer with Univision 41 News, and later as a public information officer with the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs. Gema, I will turn it over to you to tell us about how the FTC is protecting consumers against tax ID theft.
Thank you, Nelson, and hello, everyone. I'm going to try to speed through a lot of this information. I know we want to get to the questions. So we are, like Nelson said, the nation's Consumer Protection Agency, and the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, as we're also known, works to stop fraud, deception, unfair business practices. And part of that mission is to protect consumers from issues that are related to privacy, and that includes tax identity theft, which is our focus today. So let's start by first defining what is identity theft. And identity theft happens when someone uses your personal information without your permission to do things that benefit themselves, like opening a new credit card or getting a loan. And if we can get on to the next slide, please. I just wanted to show you really quick, every year identity theft is one of the top reported problems to the Federal Trade Commission. On this slide, you can see the data from 2024. We got over 1.1 million identity theft reports last year, but we know that's just a fraction of people who experience identity theft because only a fraction of them actually reported. So there's other interesting information there on other different types of identity theft. So you can see those if you want to look at more data at ftc.gov/explore data. We move on to the next slide to talk about tax identity theft specifically. Tax identity theft is when someone uses your social security number to steal your tax refund, or perhaps they're getting a job and they're working under your name. People often discover this issue when they're filed their taxes at tax time, right? So let's talk a little bit about what happens and how you can reduce your risk of tax identity theft. Let's go to the next slide. So thieves get your social security number in a variety of ways. Maybe you lose your wallet or your phone, maybe it has your social security number or personal information in it, or like I said, maybe you lose your smartphone and it has documentation on your social security number. Maybe your information was compromised on a data breach because there was a phishing email that perhaps was asking you to confirm some information. That's another way that thieves get your information. Another problem to be on the lookout for are phony tax preparers or tax preparation services that promise you a very inflated refund, because of course, they're going to be claiming fake tax credits on your behalf. So if they're willing to lie on a tax form, they could be taking your money as well. So that's something to be on the lookout for. The bottom line is that identity thieves look for ways to get your social security number, which is why it's so important to protect it. So let's go on to the next slide. By now, you're probably asking yourself, well, how am I going to protect myself from identity theft? Well, I'll tell you that the number one thing that you can do as soon as we're done with the webinar is to freeze your credit report. And you do that to protect against unauthorized access to your credit file. Freezing your credit makes it hard for thieves to open accounts in your name. And in a minute, I'll tell you more about how you can place a credit freeze on your credit reports. But first, let me tell you a little bit more about how they work. While a credit freeze is in place on your credit report, nobody can open a new credit card account in your name. A credit freeze is not going to affect your credit score or your current credit cards or loans. Those will remain active. Placing a credit freeze is free to do, and it lasts until you decide to lift it. And it's also it's also free to lift the credit freeze. So if you need to apply for credit, maybe you're renting an apartment or buying insurance, you can temporarily lift the freeze and then put it back when you're done with the credit check. Let's go to the next slide, please. To place the credit freeze, you have to contact each of the 3 credit bureaus. That's Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And you can find their contact information and more details on how to, how the process works and how to do it at ftc.gov/credit freeze. On the side of each of the credit bureaus, you're going to need to provide your identification information, like your social security number, your name, just to set up that credit freeze. And as I mentioned, it's free to set up and free to lift it. To lift it, you will have to contact the bureau that the lender is going to be using to check your credit. So you can get that phone or that credit card or apartment or a job or whatever it is that you're applying for. So it's a very easy a process to lift the credit freeze, to just have that credit check done. And moving on to the next slide, just in addition to placing a credit freeze, other ways that you can use to help protect you from identity thieves is, well, identity thieves sometimes happens in ways that we don't have any control over, like a data breach. There are some steps that you can take to protect your information. For example, keeping important documents like your tax records and your social security number in a safe place, preferably, if you can, under lock and key. And if you have to discard any of those documents, tax documents, or anything that has your social security number on it, shred them first before you discard them. Use passwords that are hard to guess. And if you use tax preparation software, please secure your account using 2-factor authentication. That adds an extra layer of security to verify when you sign into your account. So that's very important. And of course, don't share your personal information or any information with anyone who contacts you unexpectedly, because no one legitimate is going to get in touch with you and ask for your social security number or a bank account or a credit card number. Only the scammers do this kind of thing. So those are 3 small steps that you can take, but they can make a really big difference. And on the next slide, another important piece of advice is to spot and avoid tax-related identity theft is to file your taxes as early as possible, because that way you can detect early on if something's wrong, or maybe something's off with your wages or with your refund. That way it gives you a little bit of time to correct the issue. Then, of course, once the other plus side of filing your taxes early is that once you file your taxes, no one else can file your taxes under your name. So it's another way to sort of get ahead of the thieves. And on the screen, you can see a couple of other things that you can do and look out for. One of them, of course, checking your credit report, which you can do for free at annualcreditreport.com. And what if identity theft happens to you? Well, if someone uses your social security number to file for a tax refund before you do, you're usually going to find out when you file your return, as I mentioned earlier, with the IRS. If you file by mail, the IRS is going to mail you a letter explaining that they received more than one return in your name, and then you're going to have to follow the instructions in the letter. If you try to submit your return online through a tax preparer, the IRS is going to reject your tax return as a duplicate filing. So if that happens, you can go straight to the page that you see on the screen. It's identitytheft.gov, and report the problem using as many details as you can about what your experience is. When you submit the report at identitytheft.gov, it's going to create an FTC identity theft report. It's also going to create an IRS identity theft affidavit that it will automatically send to the IRS if you want to do that, or you can just print it out and mail it if you prefer. And it's also going to give you a personal recovery plan. So those are the three main things that you'll find at that page. And shifting gears just a little bit, I wanted to let you know about impersonator scams, which continue to be the top reported scams to the FTC, and there are different ways. But since we're in the middle of tax season, I want to remind you that scammers pretend to be the IRS, and they may try to steal your money, your personal information. On the next slide, you can see an example. You might get a phone call or a text message that is the IRS. It might look like this or something different. The details often change, but how you know it's a scammer that you're dealing with is, you know, the things that they say about how you have to pay them. They're going to ask you to wire money, send them cryptocurrency or a gift card, but the IRS and other government agencies are never going to ask you to pay that way, that is the only way that you can pay them. And also, if you have any doubts, if you think, you know, what if this is the IRS really trying to reach me? Call them, contact them, and verify that information directly with them at a phone number that you know it is the real IRS. Never text back or respond to the phone number or the messages that you get. And of course, to report suspected scams like this, you can report it to the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov. In addition to filing a report that helps the FTC build cases and stop scammers, you're also going to get information on next steps. So what happens, you know, if you've given information to someone that you think might be a scammer, if you sent money to them. And on the next slide, I want to go over with you some free resources that you can share with people that you know. ftc.gov/identity theft is where you're going to find several articles on the topics that we covered today. And there's information on other types of identity theft, and you're also going to find links to resources for advocates, businesses, and much more there. All this information is also available in Spanish, and as you can see on the screen, there's another link there where you can find information in other languages. We also have a variety of videos at youtube.com/FTC videos. There's one in particular called 5 Ways to Protect Yourself from Identity Theft that is available in 4 different languages, and it's a quick 30-second video with some really great advice that you can share on social media, or you can share with your networks. And I mentioned that credit freeze was the #1 way to protect yourself from identity theft. The information that you see on the slide there, it's available in print in English and in Spanish. You can order the free copies of those at ftc.gov/bulk order. The same information is also available in multiple languages at the languages page at ftc.gov/languages. And all the resources, of course, are available for free. You can share them with your community, and we hope that you'll share them to help family, friends learn about identity theft and about how to protect themselves. And the last thing I will tell you is that we would love to stay in touch with you and keep you updated on the latest consumer issues that we see. And the best way to do that is to sign up to get our consumer alerts. You'll get roughly 1 or 2 emails a week, and you sign up at ftc.gov/consumer alerts, or if you want to get them in Spanish, it's ftc.gov/alertas de consumidor. And like I said, when you sign up, you're going to get emails with short advice on how to spot and avoid and report some of the newest trends of scams that we are seeing. And now I know I talk super fast, but I'll hand it over to you, Nelson.
Thank you, Gema, for the great presentation and great information. We're going to now switch over to questions. I know we are right at time, but we do want to get in a few of your questions. So let's plan on maybe staying on 5 to 7 minutes and cover some questions. Monica, do you have any questions for our speakers?
I do. Yeah, it was a great presentation, and we have a number of good questions, and I know time's limited, so we'll dive right in. The first question is for Igor, and it says the The presenter slide shows you're affiliated with the Economic Security Project. Can you tell us something about that and how people can learn things about it or stay informed throughout the year? Is Igor on?
You know what, Monica, I think he had to leave. He wasn't able to stay, but he did drop something in the chat, and I will include it in the materials that we send out in a week.
Okay, so we'll move on. All right. This question is for Bridget. Why are roughly half the states not participating in Direct File? Do you expect all states to eventually participate? And for those states that do participate, you mentioned that Direct File will connect you with your state's revenue department, but then do those states offer a similar free filing option?
Yeah, so great question. So the state's ability to join Direct File was limited by sort of budget constraints, timing. A lot of this came together very, very quickly on a short time frame. A lot of states are undergoing their own modernization efforts right now and are upgrading their tax filing systems and working with contractors to make that process easier for their taxpayers. So are looking forward to joining Direct File in the future. The hope is that we will, in the next few years, expand to all 50 states. In terms of those states that are partnered with Direct File now, yes, their free state filing option works similarly. It's not Direct File, but it is similar in that, it is question-based, it is free to those taxpayers. Again, you're able to, in most of the cases, import your information from Direct File. So the actual amount of information that you need to type into the state tax tool or questions you need to answer are limited, and then you can complete the filing of your state return. But for all of the states, the state filing is free as well.
Okay, great, good to know. This next question is for Amy. You mentioned the success that LA Saves has had in, collaborating with 100 organizations to promote the effort. If there's somebody who wants to get something started in their own area, is there any way to get any guidance from the people involved in LA Saves in how to approach building that kind of collaboration, or any information on sort of that process or tips for getting started?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, the folks out in LA at the FDIC that run or that kind of oversee and champion LA Saves, they are wonderful at working with other individuals. I have connected them just a couple months ago to some organizations in another state that wanted to learn from them and implement a program similar in their community. So that was one of the first things that we did, is I connected them with those folks and for best practices and things like that. And then further, I helped them locate other organizations that were in their state that were either participating or had wanted to participate. And then I kind of connected the dots so that they could start forming that partnership. And of course, we're here to help along the way as well. So, if you have specific questions, or if there's a certain area, state, county, or wherever your community is, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can try to connect you with individuals that maybe are also looking for partnerships, or someone in that area that could partner with you as well. I hope that answered that.
Yeah, that sounds great. That kind of access and help will hopefully encourage people to get something going. For William and Kira, somebody asks, when you say members and all these tools and credit building and all these different things, when you say that people could have access to, but when you say members, do you mean specifically people have to bank with Chime? Is that correct? Or is there some other way to be a member?
Yeah, it's our way of saying customer. So it's not, I know some like credit unions and things, you can be like a member. For us, it's just, we call any customer that uses Chime a member, because we just think of them more holistically in as like a partner and kind of part of the Chime ecosystem, but it is just any customer who uses any of Chime's services.
Okay, got it. Gema, this is for you. The participant wants to know if tax-related scams have been increasing or decreasing, and are the available anti-scam tools, all these things people can do to prevent people from scamming them regarding taxes, are those and consumer education efforts succeeding in thwarting scammers?
Yeah, I don't have specific numbers or data on whether, tax related or scams, reported tax related scams have been going up or down. I would have to go to the website and take a closer look. Sometimes it's hard to tell whether consumer education and other tools help people avoid scams, because obviously we hear when someone has an issue with a scam and they report it, we often don't hear about people who get the information, it's able to avoid scams. From time to time, we'll get some anecdotal information of like, oh yeah, I saw that webinar, someone shares some of your information. But we do know and believe that that is indeed the case, especially when people hear it from someone that they trust. Sometimes that may not always be the federal government directly from us. That's why we always work when we do outreach with other organizations and with partners to get the information out there, because sometimes people will really pay attention and listen more to someone that they already know and trust. So we think that really makes a difference in terms of avoiding scams.
Yeah, makes sense. Bridget, back to you. The participant says, I have clients who I recommended try IRS Direct File in order to save the money that they would have paid to an accountant. They've expressed concerns that this would set them up for an IRS audit, having gone from using an accountant for years to filing on their own, especially if now that they file on their own, they happen to get more money back in their self-filed return. Is there any legitimacy to their concerns?
So I can understand the anxiety of preparing your taxes by yourself for the first time after having used a paid preparer for a really long time. As far as the concern that that will somehow trigger an audit or an adverse action, absolutely not. Direct file returns are processed the exact same as any other electronically filed returns. The IRS isn't looking to compare how you filed last year to how you filed this year as an indicator of anything. I will say throughout the development of Direct File and even throughout this filing season, we have done a lot of user research with individuals who are filing their return for the first time. In fact, the very first person to use Direct File last year was someone who was preparing her return for the very first time on her own after paying hundreds of dollars in the past to have it done for her. And I think one of the exciting things for the team has been seeing that these individuals, after using Direct File, have felt confident in the preparation of the return and felt like Direct File, walks them through, answering all of the questions and providing the information that they needed to file an accurate return. So that was really one of the goals in developing Direct File, and I think we have seen that through the users who have been using it over the past 2 years.
Okay, great. This just came in right now, and I may as well ask you while you're on, and this could be for Rebecca also, but now with the immigration laws about the IRS having to share immigration status, how can we advise the people we work with? Is there a reason to be concerned about, I don't know, using Direct File, I guess they're asking? And
I mean, I guess the answer there again is that direct file returns are processed through the exact same system as any other electronically filed returns. In terms of how to best advise clients, I think that is probably a question better directed at someone else on the panel.
Okay. Let's see, William and Kira. Two things. Is the credit card interchange fee Chime's only income source? And does Chime accept ITIN holders for accounts?
I can start. Willie, you might know more on this. No, it's not our only source of revenue. So it's a major, interchange is a major source of revenue. On some of our products, we have a free option, but then we also have a paid option for things like our MyPay product, which is access to earned wages. You can get your money free within 24 hours, or if you want it instantly, there's a small fee. I think it's $2. So we have some products like that. We have our instant loans, which are rolling out, which do have a fee on them. It's super transparent and breaks it down into like a dollar amount, so that it's really easy to understand, but there is a fee on that. I think those are our major ones. So there's, yeah, we do have a few products that have an optional fee if you want to move faster, or that just we need to have a fee on an instant loan to make the product able to be offered.
Okay.
And I don't know the second question answer, Willie, if you do.
I know members need an SSN. I'll chase down the ITN question and follow up with you.
Okay. Okay, great. Nelson, I know we are over time, so I think that I will send it back to you.
Thank you, Monica, and thank you, speakers, for answering those questions. Please stand by. We have a lot of you on. We have a survey that'll go on in just a moment. Just want to remind everybody, we are a nonprofit. If you'd like to make a contribution to us, you'll have the information when you get the slide deck. And again, we'll send you a link to the recording. It will be on our YouTube channel. We encourage you to subscribe to the channel as well as follow us on social media. Thank you, audience, for your patience too with our tech issues earlier today, and for staying here till the end. And thank you, panel. You were fantastic. So much great information. Hope to see you next time. Goodbye for now.